This is the latest tit-for-tat measure in a growing media dispute between the United States and China. The media is really becoming just the latest battleground in the growing rivalry and tension between these two great powers. And this move by China, they had foreshadowed that they would take further action, but people here, I have to say, are fairly stunned. It probably will be about 13 journalists, we realise, in total, who are likely to be booted out within 10 days, but it could be a few more than that. And China claims this is retaliation for the US capping the number of Chinese government media workers in America from 160 down to 100. So the way China sees that, it's basically saying, hey, you're kicking out 60-odd state media workers from the US, so it's fair retaliation. But the reason the Americans did that was because originally China kicked out 3 Wall Street Journal reporters, and the Chinese claim they did that because they claim it was because of racism, but the real reason it appears is because the US declared Chinese state media in America to be a diplomatic entity, to basically have the same classification as a government body. Kind of complicated, but as you can see, this has been going for weeks now, and this is just the latest salvo.
Yeah, and what's been the response from US politicians?
So far, obviously with coronavirus, I think the US has a fair bit on its plate, but we did see the State Department strongly condemn this move. The Foreign Correspondents Club over here in China strongly condemned the move, saying that kicking out journalists makes the world a dimmer place, including China. You got to understand, this is probably the worst situation for the foreign media that people have seen up here for many, many years. About 13 American journalists to be booted out, on top of a total of 4 Wall Street Journal reporters, including an Australian who were booted out in the past 6 months. On top of that, you have visa delays for Australian media, for other countries. You have the Foreign Ministry this week publicly criticising a French reporter for the way they've been covering coronavirus. It really seems like a change in approach from China's Foreign Ministry in the way it handles the foreign reporters in this country.
Yeah, so could we see any other countries affected by these moves from China?
Possibly not, because it seems China's government is now absolutely obsessed with its rivalry with the United States and doesn't seem to care that much about other countries. Every now and then it kicks up a diplomatic dispute erupts with, say, Australia or with Sweden or other nations, but the US is always the priority. And as I said, there have long been ongoing issues here, like visa delays for new correspondents. A couple of Australian media are caught up in that in the moment. This affects all countries, but actually cutting someone's press card and giving them 10 days or 5 days to leave the country, so far these extreme measures have only been applied to US media.
Yeah, and some of those journalists themselves, they've taken to social media today to express their dismay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that most of the journalists over here have committed much of their lives to studying the language, or perhaps they're from a Chinese-American background. They've made a deep commitment to getting to understand China, going around the country, reporting on it. And of course, the reason why China's government blocks US media here, it censors their content, it kicks out their journalists, is because, frankly, it has influence. People in positions of power here do take note of or occasionally read foreign media reports. On the whole tit-for-tat aspect of it, no one really reads Chinese state media in the United States of America. So everyone's acutely aware of this, both the Chinese and the Americans, and it kind of shapes the way that both sides address this issue. As far as the Americans are concerned, those Chinese media active in the States are actually state propaganda workers, and that's why the US government has been moving to tighten restrictions around them.